623 to December 2020. This is the Low Intensity Conflict INSUM from FortObserver.com. Once again, I highly recommend folks to get a subscription to their service. It is invaluable. Washington anarchists charged with treason. 2 female anarchists from Bellingham, Washington face terrorism charges after attempting to sabotage a Burlington Northern Santa Fe railway. Police arrested Ellen Reich, R-E-I-C-H-E, and Samantha Brooks after placing a makeshift wire shunt across the railway in western Washington. They were allegedly attempting to mimic the electrical signal of a train, causing an incoming train to automatically brake and potentially derail. Our college students. Observers note, according to court documents, BNSF claims that there have been 41 acts of sabotage involving their tracks in Washington since January. Yes, the Democrat Party in Washington has been busy apparently. They report that similar shunts consisting of wire and magnets were used 10 times. According to the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, anarchist groups online have taken credit for the attacks as a means of disrupting construction of pipelines and movement of fossil fuels throughout Western Canada. They've reported on numerous instances of far-left groups calling for or sharing information on how to disrupt supply distribution and transportation networks. American leftists in Europe encourage sabotage. Far-left chatroom participants living in Europe shared observations and experiences regarding resistance strategies abroad. One contributor argued that mass protests like those in Paris could be symbolic but often have little impact, forcing Western governments to implement desired change. You mean become little Marxist or socialist dictatorships? I believe that's the change you're referring to. Hope and change, remember that garbage? The contributor concluded that clandestine operations common in Germany, such as sabotage and arson, allow for revolutionary groups to learn weapons, tradecraft, and build camaraderie and confidence against government forces. For overt campaigns, peaceful events that bolster their image and allow for more significant fundraising opportunities, such as festivals in Germany, are or were recommended. Observers note, many on the far left have expressed optimism concerning a potential American collapse or revolution in the near future. Some, however, have become frustrated with the apparent stagnation of movement relative to successes earlier in the year. Most notably, the burning of the Minneapolis 3rd Precinct. While the push for mass mobilization continues, some leftists are refocusing their efforts on a qualitative rather than a quantitative approach. In line with the BNSF incident in Washington, small, motivated teams with the right skills could carry out sabotage, arson, and potentially bombing campaigns. The Democrat Party does not change. Anarchists call for mass mobilization to overcome arms disparity. Anarchist bloggers for Ill Will Editions. It needs that right there. For Ill Will Editions discussed how a proletariat revolution can be achieved despite being outnumbered in terms of arms. In order to overcome this, they prescribed that the left, Democrats, carry out a social revolution consisting of riots, strikes, autonomous zones, defecting government forces, and seizing production centers. They recognize that small cadres of armed leftists will be needed to guard critical areas, but conceded that a large-scale armed conflict would likely end in defeat. Observers note, armed leftist groups have experienced significant growth recently, but remain weak as a potential paramilitary force relative to that relative to what right-wing groups could muster. Mass mobilization will likely continue to be the strategic centerpiece of the far left's push for fundamental change. Leftists promote the use of signal jammers. Seattle-based Black Lives Matter chat room participants shared information and product listings for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth signal jammers. Specific jammers listed vary from small portable units to larger fixed units that can jam multiple frequencies. Observers note, the use of signal jammers could allow activists to disrupt law enforcement communications and prevent unwanted live streaming. In addition, signal jammers could provide leftist affinity groups more secure meeting areas, further guarding against digital surveillance and tracking. Remember though, jamming works both ways. Upcoming event calendar, 3 through 10 December. We're going to be in for a busy rest of a week. Avenge Michael Reinoehl, Ram New York City. Remember, Ram New York City is literally American Al-Qaeda. Antifa in New York City have officially labeled themselves as the base. The base in Arabic is Al-Qaeda. You can't make this up. 5 December. Oh yes, and that's supposed to be a nationwide activity. 5 December, BLM Antifa Soup Drive, put on by BLM Antifa in Charleston, South Carolina. I guess they got tired of destroying businesses. I think they wanted to just give back to the community. 5 December, Defend Sacramento, Antifa. Defend Sacramento. All right. Sacramento, California. 7 December, No More Pigs, the They Them Collective, Washington, D.C. Okay. 11 to 12 December, Defend D.C., All Out D.C., Washington, D.C. 12 December, March for Trump, Washington, D.C. That is it for today. Know who your people are. Watch your six. 623 out.